All right, I think we're just gonna let it rock here.
Hey, welcome folks. I'm Eric with the Bulwarks, and I'm here with you today to talk a little bit about trigger control. I'm a fundamentals kind of guy. I think those are what's probably important. We can usually use our mental preparation to deal with individual situations, and we'll talk more about that in future episodes. Simple things like reading your newspaper or and getting things that happen, we can make plans. But I'm a fundamentals guy, so I like to make the rules and then kind of work from there. So today we're going to talk about trigger control because it's important. This is Eric with the Bulwarks LLC. Pretty cold days we've had over the last few days, so this is just an opportunity to do some work, dry fire, that we can do at home. Okay. So we're going to talk about trigger control today. Main topic for it. It's pretty important. It's one of the main fundamentals that we need to understand. So I wanted to take some time and go over that. It's probably, not to get into a lot of statistics because there's so many statistics out there that it doesn't make sense. But it's important. Trigger control is very important. So we want to make sure that we hit on that. Some of the symptoms of bad trigger control, and you can get feedback when you're at the range shooting at a target. Typically, if your rounds strike low, or if you're a right-handed shooter, they may hit low left, or left-handed shooters may hit low right. And we've all seen the chart, if you've spent any time online, the little round pie chart that says if you're doing this. And there's some truth to that. It's not completely inaccurate. There may be other things that cause you to do other things, but there's some feedback there. If you're not hitting the X ring or the center chest in the defensive world, you may have some trigger control. And it doesn't take much to move a pistol with a short barrel, especially at 7 or 10 yards. A little bit moves a lot on the target when we get our feedback. So it's pretty important. Most pistols tend to be zeroed pretty well, even short-barreled revolvers, out to 25 yards. Most of the time when we're not hitting directly where that bullet is hitting, is probably more due to trigger control and sight alignment, which is important too, than probably anything else. Typically the gun doesn't need to be adjusted. There are a few instances where that does happen, but they're tested pretty good at the factory before they get to us. So that's worth to talk about. So we're going to talk about grip because it's important to understand grip when we're pressing the trigger, because we don't have a proper grip on it. Some things can be problematic. Now I'm going to pull my pistol out and I will show you that I've cleared it already. Empty magazine. No magazine in the gun, and I am checking the chamber. I check the breech face, check the chamber again, make sure those are all clear. And I just do that again to see if I've missed anything. Chamber's clear. Magazine well's clear, chamber's clear. So I check that twice. And I do it twice only because I know I'm a fallible human being and bad things tend to happen. And I know that, so I can eliminate that. I know I'm fallible. I know I can make mistakes. So I want to make sure that I check that a couple times. So if I do miss something, I can catch it on the second time. Okay? So I have a clear pistol. So we're going to just kind of review our grip on the gun really quickly. And you'll see in the pictures that go along with this video that it will show the case this a little bit closer. So when we look at the pistol, we've got a good grip. When we look at our arm, we see how it's going straight up our arm bone. So it's like an extension of the arm. Got a pretty good grip. Nice solid grip. Not all of my grip is with my shooting hand, which is in my case a right hand, but I have quite a bit on this. Now you'll notice on this side of the pistol that there's some open space here on the grip, or the stocks in this case. This is the grip. And so I can use my support hand and really press in with my support hand. Now I've got a pretty solid grip, okay? One-handed grip, and then make sure the heel of the hand is touching the stocks of the pistol. So I'm really pressing in on this, And I grip it, you know, you can, a firm handshake grip would probably be fine. Nice firm grip. Now you'll notice my thumbs are on the slide. Most automatic pistols, you won't have a problem with this. You can cross your thumb over as long as you're keeping good contact with the heel of your support hand on the gun. This works fine. On this 1911, I do pin the safety down to make sure I don't inadvertently press it back on, so it stays on there for a 1911. Pressing in pretty hard with this gun, I've got a pretty good grip. If we think of it as 100% around the grip of the gun, 60% or so would be with my support hand, 40% with my shooting hand. Okay? So that's our grip. Now, what I'd like for you to do now is take a moment to get this grip, release your grip for just a moment, re-grip the gun. Do this about 10 times, and you can stop the video long enough to do this, and I'll give you a moment to do that. So every time I want to let go, I re-grip the gun. Excuse me. Now you'll notice that I have it high on the back strap. I want to get as much up here as I can. If I have it here, it wants to make the gun puts more pressure on my wrist. So we want to make sure that we have plenty of good grip on that. Okay? If I have it high, it tends to keep more pressure in my arm bone. I don't have as much on my grip. Okay. Second grip, so just adding that nice grip, let go of the gun for a moment, re-grip. Do that about 10 times and see how that works, okay? And then we'll come back. Alright, now getting into the meat of the video here, we're going to talk about trigger control. There are three types that we kind of teach that are important. One is called the open-ended surprise break, surprise being the key word there, the compressed surprise break, and then the nudge. Now we're not going to get too much into nudge. I feel like that's a really difficult thing to teach, and it takes a lot of rounds to really teach that, so it's probably not important for what we're discussing today. But today we're certainly going to talk about the open-ended surprise break, which is a good practice type of trigger press, and then the compressed surprise break is what we really want to get to. That's the main goal. And so we're going to check the gun again. Chamber, magazine well, breech face is clear. Let the slide go forward. In case I miss something, I'll get it the second time. Chamber, magazine well, breech face, everything's clear. Okay, now that doesn't give me a license to violate any of the 4 safety rules, so I'm not going to do that because that's just bad practice. But continuing on, I always want to check it, make sure it's clear every opportunity. And maybe not clear, I might want to know the condition of it. All right. So first off, we're going to go with the open-end surprise break. So all semi-automatic pistols have slack in the trigger, and you can see this really closely. Press on that; it's got a little bit of movement there. And we want to take that out. We don't always want to do that practicing. We want to get there and get that off fairly quickly. And as you see this in the compressed surprise break, this doesn't happen very long at all. So it's not really anything to really worry about. Right now we're going to talk about the open-end surprise break. So if we think of it as 2 people shooting the gun, or myself as 2 different entities shooting the gun, half of me is concentrating on the front sight post, making sure it's aligned with the target and in the rear sight notch. And then the other half of me is pressing the trigger. Either side is not concerned with the other side is doing. They both have a very important job, and they both need to concentrate on doing their part. So we're only going to talk about the half pressing the trigger right now. So the open-ended surprise break, we have the slack out of the trigger, and at this point we just start applying pressure to the trigger until the gun goes off. I don't know when it's going to go off. I just apply pressure to it until the gun goes off. I'm applying pressure somewhere between now and maybe tomorrow at some point, maybe next week the gun's going to go off. There it went. I don't know when that's going to happen. All I know is as long as I keep applying pressure to it, the gun will go off. So I've recovered from recoil. I've found my front sight post. I still have a target to shoot. So now I'm just going to take that slack out and then begin applying small increments of pressure to the trigger till the gun goes off. Press, 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 press. I do not know when this is going to go, but I just want to keep pressing slowly until the gun goes off. There it went again. I had no idea when that was going to happen. I'll show you this one more time, then I want you to maybe pause the video and do this on your own. 10 perfect reps. Press, press, press. Keep applying pressure to the trigger till the gun goes off. Remember, my other half is focusing on the front sight post. So if you're practicing this and you find a safe target, regardless of the condition of your gun, so if you're doing this on the range or you want to fire an actual bullet, that's perfectly fine. You notice I'm still applying pressure to the trigger while I'm talking. Make sure your target's safe. We always have to go by Jeff Cooper's Universal Firearm Safety Rule number 4, know your target and what's beyond it. I'm still applying pressure, and there we went. There it goes off. Okay, so I'm going to give you a moment to go try this for a moment, and then we'll come back and talk about the compressed surprise break. Okay, now we're going to talk about the compressed break. Compressed break is still the same, and I know we've paused the video. We had a little pause there. I'm going to check my gun again. Chamber, magazine well, breech face is clear. I'll let it go. Grab it again. I check it. Chamber, breech face, magazine well, both are clear. Checked it twice. So now we're going to go with the compressed surprise break. As we talked about in the open-ended surprise break, we just keep applying pressure to the trigger, and we're going to review this really quickly. I'm just press, press. At some point today, me applying increments of pressure to the trigger till the gun goes off, just adding pressure, and there it goes. It goes off. Now, we don't have to be a mental giant to understand that that's too long to hit a threat when we're trying to defend ourselves. So we have to speed this up. And we can still do the same thing as an open-end surprise break. We're just going to compress the time that it takes to do that. Still applying pressure, and this is where we need to keep our practice perfect. Okay, so a compressed surprise break. So if we had a chart in our open-ended surprise breaks, or between now and tonight, compressed surprise break a little faster. So once we have our sights are on a target that we were planning on shooting. So the meter starts 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 4 seconds. So now we've got it down to 4 seconds. I still don't know when that's going to go off. I'm not concerned with it. So we start our meter again. 1, 2, 3, about 3.5 seconds. Start it again. 1, 2, about almost 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3, about there again. Each time that I do that, I do not know when it's going to happen. So now let's speed it up a little bit more, between maybe 0 and 2 seconds. We start applying pressure. As soon as we have our sights on target, meter starts. 1, 2, almost 2 seconds. 1, 2, there we go. Almost a little more than a second there. 1, 2, okay. We get the point. So less than 2 seconds now, we're getting good shots or good trigger presses on the gun that's causing it to do what we want. We're not jerking, we're not mashing on the trigger. Folks that tend to have problems with shooting, it tends to be with the trigger. So we need to remember that. So if we can make this gun go off without making the gun move, we're getting to where we need to be. So can we do this even faster? Absolutely. We can get this to sub 1 second times in between each shot, because you will never be able to press the trigger faster than the gun can function. So can we go any faster? Let's go. Sights on. Alright, pretty good. Sights on, press. Sights on target, press. Sights on target. I can't even get the words out, it's so fast, okay? Each time I do that, I do not know when it's going to go off. I had no idea. Okay? That is the compressed surprise break. Make sure that the gun doesn't move while you're pressing the trigger. The way to look at it. Press the trigger so that you are not disturbing the sights. Another way of looking at it. So we want to go as fast as we can without letting the gun move. Now, additionally, and this is probably not the best way to practice this, because you'll get this down pretty quickly, You can do this on the range with live bullets, because if we get used to pressing the trigger every time the gun goes off and racking the slide, we might do something we don't intend to. So I'm going to show you this, and you can do this on the range on your own time. So as I press the trigger, boom, the gun goes off. Now you'll notice that I have kept pressure on the trigger and not allowing it, easy for me to say, for the trigger to travel back forward to reset. So when we press the trigger, what happens? The gun goes off. So I'm going to simulate that by working the slide. So I've simulated the gun using recoil to kick the old round case out and reloading a cartridge ready to shoot. So now listen to this really closely. Hear click. That's telling me that the gun's ready to go again. You probably won't notice this, but it's good to get that kinesthetic sense down as we do this. So as soon as I hear the click, I just start pressing the gun again. That's the gun resetting. It's ready to go again. Feel the click, start pressing, get that compressed surprise break. Alright, that is the compressed surprise break, the open-ended break. Folks that tend to have problems with this will probably the ones that have a tendency to want to make the gun go now. We see our sights and we feel like there's so much wobble there that we're not going to be on target. It's typically not the case. If you hold your sights on your target, allow for wobble. No one can keep the gun perfectly still. Not the greatest Olympic shooters. No one can keep the gun perfectly still. Everybody has movement, and it's just the way it is. So accepting that as being factual, as long as you hold your sights on the target, and you can do it with me now, just putting your thumb there, and if I move around, you can easily follow my movements with your thumb. So let's just reverse that. So we're the ones moving. We just hold our thumb, or excuse me, in this case, our sights on the target, and keep pressing the trigger until the gun fires or the hammer falls, whichever the case you want to do. Okay, so that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, well, I think we're just gonna let it rock here.